With the approach of winter, ABCD is usually focused on fuel assistance and toys for children, but more recently there's also attention to needs on other fronts. In what's tied together is the Winter Emergency Campaign. To tell us about the effort is our guest from ABCD, the Executive Vice President, Sharon Chandler. Thank you very much for being with us, Sharon.
Thank you for having me.
This is the second year we've had this whole umbrella kind of winter campaign. What's the reason for doing it this way?
Well, I think, and we learned it last year, people are really struggling and in need, particularly at this time of year, because there are additional costs, whether it's toys or whether it's winter clothing and that kind of thing. And we figured that it would be better to look comprehensively at families and individuals and what their needs are during this season. So fuel is obviously still very important, and fuel assistance, but there are other things and other basic needs that we realize families do not have during this time of the year.
And this could be maybe clothing, food?
So clothing, basic non-perishable foods, blankets and comforters, particularly for the elderly, toys, housing and fuel assistance subsidies, many of those things that people struggle with.
How do you find out where the needs are the worst? Because if you're going to be gathering in resources, I suppose you need some way to pinpoint where the help is really needed, right?
Well, because of our neighborhood family service centers, neighborhood service centers, we see every day the needs of particular people, and we have a center in every neighborhood, and we're realizing, and realized it even a couple of months ago, that these basic needs were needed all across the city. There are folks who are struggling, low income, but even middle income families, folks who have lost their jobs, folks whose unemployment benefits have run out. So it's a lot of folks are struggling.
And if nothing else in this town, rents are going up, so you know, I'm sure that's putting a squeeze on a lot of people.
Absolutely. It's really tough to find affordable housing in Boston. I don't need to tell you that. And so for people having to decide whether or not they pay rent or they buy food or they pay for prescriptions, families are really forced to do that more and more.
Well, one thing that is a continuation of what you've done for many years is ask people to help with donations of toys. So what kind of things are you looking for?
We ask for toys of any age, and looking for new unwrapped toys that we can give. We have a Head Start program which serves preschool children, but we also in our neighborhood service centers have families who have children ranging from 0 to 18. So we really look for anything that folks can give in the toy area.
And I imagine this is an eye toward things that are fairly safe if it's a toy for younger kids, and nothing that's too violent, I guess.
No, we ask that you know, people use obviously some good judgment and discretion in terms of guns and violent toys. We often stay away from some of the heavy electronics. Although, you know, every kid these days are using computers and electronics, but really looking for toys that are safe and on the safety list. And there are many websites and information out there to tell you that.
Talk about how it can be that one toy, and something that's not all that extravagant, can really fill the gap for a kid.
Oh, absolutely. Well, if you think about families who have multiple children, and many of our families have multiple children, that may be their only toy that they get during this season. And whatever, you know, holiday you celebrate, this is a season where children love to get toys. And so one car, one stuffed animal, one game really means a lot. We've seen that with families and children. Their eyes light up tremendously because they know that this may be the only gift that they get.
So if people want to drop something off, what's the best way to do
well,
that?
The best way would be to go to our website at www.bostonabcd.org, and folks can find a local neighborhood center in their area, in their neighborhood. We also at 178 Tremont Street, downtown Boston, that's our central office, so anyone who's located closer to that building can donate there as well.
Of course, one other yardstick here is demand for fuel assistance. I know this is not the coldest winter and it's not the warmest winter we've had either, so how do things look?
It's already up. So we have received already 16,000 applications for fuel assistance. Last year we received 22,000 out of the entire year, and so we're up about 10%. And it's days like this today where someone might say, well, gee, the weather's not as bad, but we've had a lot of cold days, and we anticipate that this will be a brutal winter.
All right, well, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
From ABCD, Sharon Chandler. Up next, a new approach to learning English as a second language after this message.